The leaders of Ukraine say Russia has launched a full-scale invasion of their country. Satellite images show thousands of Russian troops have crossed into southeastern Ukraine.
Now Kiev is getting ready to draft soldiers to fight Russia, and President Obama will have to decide his next move. George Thomas has the story.
Russia took another bite out of Ukraine.
It is an absolutely clear-cut case of a larger country bullying a smaller country.
Russian forces, backed by pro-Russian separatists, captured the key Ukrainian port town of Novosovsk.
In the last 48 hours, Russia's actions have spoken volumes.
NATO says satellite images show more than 1,000 Russian combat troops are now operating inside southeastern Ukraine, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. There are claims that as many as 15,000 Russian soldiers have been sent to the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. Meanwhile, Ukraine has ordered compulsory conscription to counter what the country's president says is an extremely difficult threat.
We have also detected large quantities of advanced weapons, including air defense systems, artillery, tanks, and armored personnel carriers being transferred to separatist forces in eastern Ukraine.
This new front in the southeast opens the prospect that separatists are trying to create a land link between Russia and Crimea. If this happens, the Kremlin will control the Sea of Azov, which has significant gas and mineral riches. Russia's latest move is another sign that economic sanctions have failed to stop Putin's land grab.
Putin and his inner circle are willing to take on a lot of economic damage. They see this as kind of a fight that they're willing to go at it.
President Obama avoided calling Putin's actions an invasion and said a military confrontation with Russia wasn't in the cards.
We are not taking military action to solve the Ukrainian problem. What we're doing is to mobilize the international community to apply pressure on Russia.
Analysts are now warning Russia's next target could be the strategic port city of Mariupol. Ukraine has reinforcements in place to stop any potential opening of a land corridor to Crimea. George Thomas, CBN News.
Well, that's the goal here, and Putin is playing a strategic game. He's trying to open a land bridge to Crimea to support the military base in Sevastopol. So that's the land grab that's going on. He wants a land bridge in order to get to that strategic port, something Russia's long wanted, a warm water port. That's always been a strategic goal of that nation. On the West, pay attention to the language being used. As long as Germany is saying incursion, as long as the United States is saying incursion, I don't see NATO getting involved. I don't see the U.S. getting involved militarily. But the Ukraine is involved militarily, and I think the long-lasting effect of this war is that Ukraine is going to arm itself and arm itself significantly in order to stop this kind of activity, not just now, but in the future. Realize it's the size of Germany, and if it really wants to be armed, it has the economic ability to do that, and that creates long-term strategic implications. Well, in other news, U.S. intelligence is picking up signs of more online chatter among Islamic terrorists. And as the anniversary of 9/11 gets closer, John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Gordon, current and former U.S. intelligence officials say the jihadi chatter has picked up on phone lines and the internet. The officials told The Blaze the U.S. has noticed a significant increase in the chatter among Islamic terrorist organizations overseas. They say they can't tell if an attack is being planned, yet they add there was a similar increase in chatter before 9/11. And some say terrorists from both al-Qaeda and ISIS badly want to launch an attack. You can find a link to this story at our website, cbnnews.com. Well, President Obama faces severe criticism over his statement that his administration still doesn't have a strategy for defeating ISIS terrorists who've murdered tens of thousands in Syria and Iraq.
The suggestion seems to have been that, we're about to go full scale on an elaborate strategy for defeating ISIL. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. We don't have a strategy yet.
The president did acknowledge he's still considering military action in Syria as well as Iraq. Others in his administration have been vocal about the need to move. Even Democratic lawmakers are calling on the administration to take action. Florida Senator Bill Nelson, just back from Turkey, says the U.S. needs to have a military plan.
Sooner or later, we've got to take the fight to ISIS in addition to what we're doing in northern Iraq and protecting the Kurds in Kurdistan, because sooner or later we're going to have to deal with them.
Nelson says the U.S. can avoid boots on the ground in Syria by coordinating with the Free Syrian Army. Well, so far, 3 million people have left Syria, fleeing the 3-year-old civil war that's torn the country apart. That's according to the United Nations Refugee Agency. To put that in perspective, that amounts to 1 out of every 8 Syrians who've left. The UN High Commission for Refugees says the Syrian crisis has become the biggest humanitarian emergency of our era. Yet the world is failing to meet the needs of refugees and the countries hosting them. Well, northern Iraq is facing its own refugee crisis as thousands of Yazidis have fled to Kurdistan to escape the brutality of the Islamic State. Gary Lane brings us their stories of suffering and how CBN Disaster Relief is bringing them help and hope.
182,000 Yazidis have sought refuge in Kurdish cities, dwelling in abandoned office buildings like these.
Just behind me are the mountains that lead to Turkey. Turkey is very close, just several kilometers away. And many of the Yazidis who have come here to the northern Iraqi city of Zakho say they prefer to go to Turkey. That's because they say they can no longer live with Muslim Arabs.
One Yazidi leader told us hundreds of Muslim neighbors turned against his people when Islamic State fighters arrived in Sinjar.
The Arabic tribes, they joined them and they attacked our villages. They took away our females, children, old men, everything. Even if we got back our homes, we cannot live with the Arabs because they are usually trying to persecute us.
This refugee spent 8 days trapped on Sinjar Mountain. He's a recent Christian convert, so we're protecting identity. Shamo says he witnessed terrorists kill 170 Yazidi men, then take their wives and daughters away to be sold or used as sex slaves. He says he wants nothing to do with Islam because of ISIS and the atrocities committed by Muslims he once considered friends. Shamo says he was attracted to Christianity because of the kindness and generosity of Christians.
I can say only one word about the difference between Islam and the Christianity. The difference is the distance between earth and sky and heaven. We're thinking every day why we are not behaving just like the Christians. We really saw a real humanity in their life.
Feeling betrayed by Arab Muslims, the Yazidi refugees are looking to the Kurds and Christians for help.
We're here to show that you have not been abandoned. Knowing that many Yazidis died on Mount Sinjar, lacking clean water, we have taken the initiative to bring water tanks to the Yazidi people so that they would have water on a daily basis in order to drink and survive.
CBN provided 8 tanks, doubling the number of existing water tanks for nearly 4,000 refugees living in these unfinished office buildings.
We've heard that you are in need of blankets. These blankets are gifts and relief to the Yazidi people, from the church in America and from American believers. And people are thinking of you and praying to God for you.
Shamo is thankful and asks that American Christians continue to assist and pray for the Yazidis.
Please, either if you can protect us, provide us an international protection, or take us out the country because we don't want to give our children and our women anymore. Please pray for the Yazidis people so as to come to Christ just like me.
Changed hearts and lives as CBN partners bring blankets and clean water for life, living water for eternity.
And we do these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Gary Lane, CBN News, Zakho, Iraq.
Anyone who drinks from the living water will never thirst again. Gordon, that's a glimmer of good news in the middle of so much suffering.
We want to provide even more good news for these refugees, and if you want to be a part of it, all you have to do is give to the CBN Disaster Relief Fund. The address is on the screen, CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, or you can call us right now. It's toll-free, 800-759-0700, or you can log on to cbn.com And on the giving page, there's a place where you can designate your gift to CBN Disaster Relief Fund. If you want to be a part of it, give now.
The Ebola outbreak in West Africa is accelerating, and it could grow 6 times larger to infect as many as 20,000 people. That's according to the UN's World Health Organization. Scientists are fast-tracking efforts to find a treatment or vaccine for the deadly disease. Ebola has now spread to major cities in 4 countries, provoking unrest as entire neighborhoods and towns have been sealed to the outside. Operation Blessing is helping in the fight against Ebola in Africa. More than 1,500 people have lost their lives to Ebola, including doctors and nurses caring for the sick. Operation Blessing is partnering with local hospitals in Liberia to provide supplies to fight the disease, including protective masks and suits, hypodermic needles, sheets, gloves, and other materials. Special teams are also educating families about preventing Ebola through hygiene and safe practices, as well as how and where to get the help when needed. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website at ob.org.